Hello, Ranger.
Hello.
Yes. All right. So who am I with?
My name's Shane, and this is
I'm
Emily.
Can you kind of tell me about this new EP that you put out? You know, you just had a show. You said it was sold out, 125 tickets sold. The production value of the EP is like really good.
Nice.
There's like birds chirping at one point. There's so much more going on than just whatever the instruments are playing, and the drums kind of have a crunchiness to them, and just the production value is really good. And I told you this in person. We know each other.
Yeah.
Can you kind of tell me about the sonic intention of this EP?
Well, Latham, our bass player and producer, he is fully responsible for all that. Like, you know, we give him complete creative control with his mixing and his production. So like, huge shout out to him. He's always been just such a huge help. Nice. But we started the EP in April. We did a Western Canadian tour, and we stopped in Kamloops, and we recorded at our friend's studio, Holy Cow Studios.
Mm-hmm.
And we recorded all the bed tracks there in one day, and that kind of got the creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
And then throughout the tour, on our off days, we would rent mics and just like whatever living room we were staying in, we're setting up a studio. Yeah.
Damn.
Latham's sister and brother-in-law were really great for that. We stayed there for
Calgary,
a few days.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And recorded a lot of the vocals and the guitar, and it was done really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's your second one of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like, usually, I mean, we do live in a music world now where it's like people are putting stuff out like constantly. But I was checking the years, and because the years stop coming and they don't stop coming.
They don't stop coming.
And I was like, oh, the last CPU maybe was 2022, but then I was like, wait, 2023. What are you guys, David Bowie?
Yeah.
Like?
Well, we released the other EP in April, right before we went on tour. But we had already had this one kind of ready to go.
Yeah, it was sort of like an EP celebration tour is what we sort of named our tour for the self-titled EP. With our most iconic songs at the time.
Yeah.
But it did take us a long time to record and produce that album.
Yeah, the first one.
The first one. The first Ranger EP, and that's, I think, partly the reason why we had two EPs come out in 1 year is because we were working on that one for so long. It wasn't like this huge push, EP out, and then push, second EP out. We were having a hard time, I think, making time, living in Victoria. Everyone's got their lives and their jobs.
Yeah,
and
a lot of side hustles.
Yeah, just meeting up on the weekend for only a couple hours kind of thing.
Yeah.
With this one, we wanted to do more layers and, more tracks, basically.
Yeah.
Like on a single track.
Yeah.
Because the first one was very, all right, this is Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
We got there's maybe 6 tracks in there as far as instruments go, and then all the layering. But, with Soft, we wanted more double guitars and more backing vocals and more texture. And that was really fun.
Obviously, this isn't your first EP, but listening to the EP today, I couldn't help but think all of these were love songs.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes that's just like a default. Like people, maybe a song is called You, and they're like, well, it's got to be about their significant other. But there's elements of the album, and I feel like because it's a woman's voice and a man's voice, you can really slip into that romanticism within these songs.
Yeah.
Am I off basis?
No, I wouldn't say you're off. No,
okay.
they are love songs, but they aren't all positive love songs.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about the struggles when you're in a relationship. I mean, especially Emily and I, we're in a band together, so it's that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And we live together.
And if you didn't know, for viewers, they're together.
Yeah. And so there's things that can be tough, and with my songwriting, I just want to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, and have somebody relate to the music and be like, hey, I've been there, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I mean the conflict that you talk about, I feel like in I Won't, that's obvious.
Yeah.
It's towards the outro of the song where
Yeah.
you were saying I won't, or maybe you guys can. What happens in that?
Yeah, I
Shane
say
says,
I do.
And I say you don't.
Yeah.
I can.
I can.
You can't.
I don't, or I don't know.
And
it's an argument.
It's a back and forth.
It's an argument. I've never. I can't think of a song where like there's an actual argument happening within the song.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Like, how do you guys feel? You know, is this like rumors with Fleetwood Mac? Like, is it better to be honest? Do you think the songwriting will be better because the more honest you are?
I think so. Yeah. I think that it'll resonate more with people.
Yeah.
You know, like
the more
I
you
think people,
truly feel.
Yeah, I think people can feel that when we play live too.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, damn, they're really like saying something out there about their relationship, you know, or something like that. And, you know, we're vulnerable. And I don't mind it.
Yeah. Is it scary?
No. I think it's, I mean, not to almost use a word that is nearly cliched now, but it's empowering to speak your truth and to have people say, hell yeah, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to have people say, you know, I really felt that one, and you say, yeah, so did I, you know? I'm not faking it, you know?
And even this sentiment that you're expressing now, I feel like comes out in that song, No Pressure.
Yeah.
Because like you're saying, there's no pressure to be a certain way, basically. And
yeah, that song was I wrote right as Emily and I started dating, I guess like over 2 years ago, and she was contemplating moving away for school at the time, and so we really didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, or if we were going to be able to define a relationship or be anything more. You know? So we just enjoy it at the time.
Yeah, that one came out really organically.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we're not focusing all on you guys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your band members too.
Please.
Where did you pick up these guys from?
Oh my God, off the road, straight up. They're in another band. Well, I've known Scott for a long time. He's also from the Okanagan area, and he used to play in a band called Speakeasy. And I was in a band called Jay Solemn and the Rocky Mountain Wildflowers, and we would play shows together at the pubs and stuff like that. And I kind of heard they were moving to Victoria, and then I kind of followed suit naturally, and I ran into Scott and Latham, who is the bass player, at Long McQuaid. I went there that day being like, all right, I don't really know anybody in Victoria. I'm going to meet somebody, and I'm going to go to Long McQuaid. I'm going to like find somebody to play music with. And I ran into them, and Scott like instantly was like, hey, you should come over and jam like right now. And so I went to his house and started jamming with Scott. And then Scott and I were involved in another band called the Doughboys, and it was like a hip-hop band, live hip-hop band. And, you know, Latham was always hanging, and he produced actually the Doughboys album that we put out. And I always knew I wanted to be in a band with Latham at some point, and it just worked out that he was the perfect fit for the project. I came to him with a few songs like Piece of You and You Are My Weakness, some of the earlier ones that we wrote. And the idea was I wanted to record a bunch of singles with Latham and just see where it went from there. And it turned into like him playing bass, and then like us getting Scott to play drums on them, and then Emily was in the picture, and she was going to do some other guitar and some vocals. And then we're like, okay. And then like basically all of a sudden we're rehearsing as a band.
And it's a thing.
And it's a thing. Yeah.
And your inner child's like, finally.
I was like, yes. Yeah, so cool. Yeah.
And in bands, I know how hard it is to get everyone on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
What's it like for you guys? Like everybody has their own priorities, right?
Everyone has the priorities. I think we're all just so honest and upfront with each other that that's like really important. You know, we tell each other exactly what we need all the time, and if we need to think someone needs space, you know, they don't have time for rehearsal, you know, they just let us know, or vice versa.
Just try and we all really care a lot about each other.
Yeah, we're all just best
it's,
friends.
It's not like you know, Shane's told me about times when he was living in Edmonton and he picked up a band off of Craigslist and whatever. You know, you're not really like caring about each other at that point, but we really do care about each other. We do, you know, if somebody has a priority in their life, then it's like my priority too. You know, if you need to, you know, be there for your job or your partner at this time, then I'm totally on board, kind of thing. So try and be flexible for each other, and then it just makes the band better because we all trust each other a lot and we feel that love. Yeah.
And Emily, what are the goals for Ranger going forward? Like, do you have any specific ones that you going into a band have always had, other than maybe winning a Grammy? Like, that's too cliche.
No. My personal goals
Sure.
in a band?
Yeah.
Well, I think with Ranger, we're always working on, and I've never been in a band, so finding sort of my niche and
Right.
getting more into it is always a work in progress. So I feel like as Ranger progresses, you might hear a little bit more from me vocally, a little bit more from me with the guitar, because Shane writes our music and he brings us the full idea, guitar and vocally.
Yeah.
And then I find my niche
In there.
right? So sometimes there's less rooms and sometimes there's a ton of room for me. And yeah, I want to sing more. I want to play more guitar. And at the same time, I'm also really, really happy and things turned out exactly the way I wanted them to with those songs that we have.
Yeah.
But as we create new songs together, to all have the space that we want in that song is sort of what I'm looking for and we're all on board with, and that's what we're working towards.
Yeah, now that I think about it, like I've heard you play some killer leads.
Yeah.
And I've heard you do some shakers, so it does
The
seem
shaker
like,
was a moment.
Yeah, it does seem like, are you not doing that anymore?
We're not. It was one song.
Okay.
We haven't
we don't
played
play that song
anymore.
The rehearsal was like, yo, I don't want to do the shaker song anymore.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but not to say that. I do want to emphasize like the songs that we have played. I've played and sung exactly what I wanted to on those songs because that's the way those songs were and are.
Yeah. So, are there any songs that you intend to bring to the band in the future, or there's some things that you work on?
No, not yet.
No.
Actually, I've just like I said before, everyone's got like some priorities and obligations they have to fulfill, and I've been so busy and really grateful that Shane, he's got such a handle on the band, and he brings so
Almost
much,
like it's named after him.
yeah. And he brings so much material. It makes it really easy for the rest of us.
Yeah.
And it gives us space and the ability to do what we have to do. I think it's a dream to be able to be Ranger full time, and that's your gig kind of thing, and Shane's so passionate about it. He puts a lot of his personal time aside to do that, and it allows us to have a little space. So, which is I've been needing lately. I've got a lot of I'm a busy girl, so. I guess another goal would be to drop everything I've been working towards in other parts of my life and just be Ranger. That's
True
a dream.
that.
That's definitely a dream, and
True
I
that.
know that you feel that as well.
Yeah. Is there a goal for the band now in general? Like, do you guys have like plans, and how are you executing those plans?
Yeah, the execution is tough for sure. Trying to figure out all the different avenues of trying to get your streaming right, all that stuff. And we're booking lots of festivals for next year and touring for next year, as well as we have a fully done and recorded EP ready to go, another one, 2024, and it's fully instrumental.
Okay.
And it comes with it's a live studio recording, really, in our sunroom at our house.
Comes with video.
It comes with video.
I remember you telling me about this.
That's kind of the next release. And we've got another 6 songs kind of in the bank ready to go for next year's recording.
Nice.
So we got a studio session booked again in Kamloops in early February.
Okay.
With Holy Cow
So
Studio
I would
again.
say
Sweet.
expect more sing-song in I don't know, maybe the summer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Dope.
Yeah.
Dope. And then last question, because it was brought up, Craigslist. We had this conversation before about our worst band experiences, and you were like, "Well, I've been in one, and it's been great."
Yeah.
But please tell me this Craigslist story again.
Okay, well, I moved to Edmonton. Went to live with my brother. I was going to be an electrician, which I am now, but took a different route kind of thing. But I also went there to meet some musicians and really play in the big city, because I'm from Vernon, so is Emily, and not much going on. There is stuff going on, but I didn't see much growth. So decided to move out, and I didn't know anybody, no musicians at Edmonton at all though, and I didn't know how to get in the scene or anything. So I put an ad out on Craigslist yo, guitar player / bass player, will do anything kind of vibe.
Also, I'm from Edmonton, and Craigslist is not used at all.
Well, yeah, exactly. Oh, but it was on like, I don't know, it was on all the, I think Castanet, or I guess Castanet's just Okanagan, but it was a couple of, platforms.
Yeah.
And I got some good people hit me back and whatever, and I was in one band called Redemption Sons, and they were a lot of fun to play with. Kind of like bluesy rock stuff, really great, talented guys. And I was in another band, and
who may not be named.
Yeah, they were like, all right, we got a gig, I got us a gig, let's play. And so they got us this gig at some pub, and it was right in Edmonton. So we go to Edmonton and we play, and when we get there,
oh yeah, you're living outside of Edmonton.
Yeah, I was living outside of
like
Edmonton.
Like an hour or something.
I was living in Devon.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit out, yeah. And he picked me up in his van, and the guitar player picked me up in his van, and I was playing bass at the time. And we go to this venue, and I realize it's an open mic, right? And I was like, oh, okay, fair
Sweet
enough.
gig.
Fair enough, whatever, that's cool.
You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, and then I'm like, all right, well, we must be like headlining the open mic. And he's like, hey, I'm gonna go try to get us in. And I was like, oh, what? Okay, well, the way you explained it to me was that we had a gig, we're getting paid, it's our show, all this stuff. And so we did weasel our way into this open mic, only because there was about 8 people there total with performers and all that.
Yeah.
And the band continued to get absolutely lit, and they're like drinking beers in the van, doing cocaine, all that stuff, everything, and then I realized after we played, obviously nobody in the room cared that we played or anything like that. and I realized after, there's no way I'm going to get home because everybody's too messed up.
Right.
And so we slept in the van, and then...
First gig.
Yeah, first gig, slept in the van, and it was a depressing drive home, and then I moved out after that. Yeah, I left.
Back to Vernon.
Back to Vernon and new beginnings, and then made my way to Victoria shortly after. But
well, I'm glad that you're in Victoria.
Yeah.
It's hilarious we didn't meet in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And maybe it's for the best.
Maybe.
That's it. Thank you guys for sitting and chatting and talking about your
Thank you,
music and
Ryan.
talking about the band. We're gonna get a little performance from the Ranger crew, and that's another edition of Sound and Story. Thank you, Rebel Garage, for hosting us as per usual.